Hey TNA fan, we're back here at the Impact Zone podcast to talk more TNA wrestling shenanigans. Today, well, I don't know whether this has been confirmed or not, and I don't know whether to talk about it too much, but it seems like Leon Slater is unable to make the AMC live debut episode because WWE want him to do some European tour over there with them. So he's unable, apparently, from what I'm gathering now, it might not be 100% true that he's not coming to that event. Yeah, because TNA hasn't confirmed it. There hasn't been any confirmed reports of this or whatever. There's just a lot of hearsay, but TNA has stopped advertising the Leon Slater Myron Reed match on their socials. Especially today, they actually put out a proper match graphic or whatever else it is for the show. And the Leon Slater Myron match was not on that card. So they haven't confirmed it, but they've all but confirmed it. This is one of those things where I feel like you should have just said, as soon as you know, hey, well, we're not advertising him, so BTW, he's not going to be on the show. The longer you don't say, oh yeah, he's probably not going to be on the show, or at least this match isn't going to happen, the worse it is for you and the worse it looks. People can understand if somebody is unable to get to their, card is subject to change. People can accept that and whatnot. If you say, hey, sorry guys, look, this is the situation and this is what's happening. Now, sometimes that doesn't happen until, minutes, hours, whatever before sometimes, because something does happen or whatever else it is. But again, you should say, hey, as soon as you know, and if you're not advertising him, that's a clear indicator that hey, he's not going to be here. This match isn't going to happen. Even if he's going to appear somewhat, in some form, via satellite or via whatever, at least say, hey, this match is off, he can't come, whatever. Because that will, yes, people will be, a little bit pissed off to say, oh, yeah, or a little bit disappointed or whatever else it is for you to say, oh, yeah, this isn't going ahead or whatever. But the longer you just keep going, oh, well, that match was never announced or whatever, or anything like that, or just forgetting about it, the more people are going to be like, man, just fucking say, it's not happening, and getting angry and getting worked up about it and whatnot. I will say though, in some regards, as far as a match on a show, I think the match would have been fine, but I think the outcome was very predictable. So I don't really think the outcome is what people really would care about in this situation. I've said that, I don't know whether I've said that before, because sometimes people don't care about the outcome. It's not about the destination, it's about the journey type thing. And when you've got this kind of match on this kind of show, well, that's what people are tuning in to see. This was a major thing that you were advertising and whatnot. So, again, that's something people are, expecting to see. And if you're not going to deliver it, the common courtesy is to say, hey, look, circumstances, blah, 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 whatever it is, he can't be here, or they can't be here, or whatever it is. So I really hope that there is something else in regards to some X Division match. But then again, there's been a few reports saying that the Rascals are no longer with TNA or whatever, and they were most of the X Division and even most of the tag team division and whatnot. I don't think Myron was ever fully signed to a contract, so I don't know. But yeah. So yeah, like, and I don't know what to say about the situation with Myron, because it's very debatable right now, in my opinion, in some ways. Like, you can debate either side of saying, well, this is WWE fishing for more talent to poach from TNA or whatever. I don't know. Obviously, in some ways, yes. And I think it does help Leon if he's going out there and doing some of these things with WWE. But yeah, I feel like it's a little bit like, here you are, in one hand, helping TNA finally by saying, hey, we'll lend you one of our major stars, not just some random NXT people that, two people and a dog have heard about. And even then, they're the jobbers that two people and a dog have heard about, whatever. So yeah, again, like, yes, they have sent other star NXT stars or whatever, but yeah, like, only like here and there for the most part. Like JC Jane and Kalani Jordan were only there for like a couple months or whatever it was, maybe at the most. Trick was there for like 6 months or whatever it was, and even then he wasn't on every show, whatever. And I think that was very begrudging. Like, and I think like the fact that they've sent a bunch of their NXT effectively jobbers over again, being like, oh well, we can let them go over there and do whatever. We don't care about them because they're not anything over here or whatever, and maybe they'll become something. Like, that's somewhat the hope and the plan in some ways with some of these things. A lot of the time is to be like, well, we just don't have the time for them, whatever. So we'll send them that way or whatever. So, and that's just been the kettle and caboodle. Meanwhile, TNA has like literally sent everyone that they can send, and like literally in this situation have sent Leon over to do this European tour. And it's not like it's a major, there are any major shows. Like I think there's like Raw, there was Raw over there, and then I think that's it. Maybe there's SmackDown, I don't know. I don't think there's any big pay-per-views or anything over there. I get that he's like European and whatnot, since being from England and whatnot, but I don't think he's that needed over there in their tour, since it's mostly just, from what I think, house shows or whatever else it is. So he's much more needed in TNA, especially right now, especially being the X Division champion. Like, even if Myron or whatever, some of the other Rascals or whatever were leaving at this point or whatever, at least if you had Slater and Myron on that card and said, yeah, sure, we might not be holding on to you, but we're going to have a match with you guys on this show. And maybe that's by their choice of saying, oh, we don't want to be tied down or whatever else. We want to be free to explore our options or whatever else it is. You can work with us on a handshake or whatever, like, that's fine as long as you don't work for AEW, pretty much. And like, there's been a lot of chatter of saying some of these people might go to AEW or they might go to WWE. Like, we've already seen the Rascals go to WWE, or some of the Rascals go to WWE. It was funny that they just released Dez from his contract in WWE fairly recently, and now it's like, oh, he's a free agent again, and people are like, oh, he'll go back to WWE. Like, what? He was just in WWE. He's just gotten out of WWE, And it's not confirmed, obviously, but then again, there's always quote unquote smoke to the fire, so to speak, in these regards. So yeah, I feel like you're probably being like, oh, okay, maybe they don't want to stay, why would they stay? Like I said before, like they should have big plans for them, honestly, if they're gonna stay. Um, or whatever. But in some ways they've become very stagnant in some ways. Like I think I said this before, I think like they should be like the focus of the division, honestly, the tag team division. Um and I don't know whether they want to do that or what the situation is. I don't know. Maybe they're just like, yeah, we just want to kind of bum around and have fun and whatever and all of that. I don't know. I don't want to put words in anyone's mouth or what the situation is, but it's never seemed like they've never really done many interviews. They haven't really done a whole lot of media in general. They don't seem to be what I would call go-getters, so to speak. Like they're not out there, you know, getting a lot of interviews. Maybe it's harder because like it's like, well, we don't want to do interviews singularly. We might more want to do interviews together and things like that or whatever, and it's just the timing of interviews don't line up or whatever. I don't know. But yeah, again, it doesn't seem like they've really, I don't want to say pulled their weight, but I don't think they've pulled their weight in it as well in some regards, because like those are the things that you've got to do. Like if you're just there to be in ring and just be like whatever and a talent and a character or whatever at times or whatever, maybe there is some other stuff or whatever, I don't know. But I don't want to speculate too hard. But yeah, this situation with Leon and him potentially like it starts to feel like this is the Joe Hendry treatment, like in some ways. Like some people were saying it's the Jordan Grace treatment, but I don't know, whatever you want to call it. Because like he's more so a champion in TNA, and they've done this before where they had Zachary Wentz over there as the X Division champion. It's crazy to me that they don't want the Hardys, seemingly. Um, like they've had the Hardys, they've had them do stuff over there, but like if they were in such high demand to go back to WWE, I think WWE would be saying, come over here and do this with us, or come over here and do that with us. They'd be in more demand than what seemingly they are. And perhaps that's their status, or that's them being like, nah, you know, we've committed to doing this, or we've committed to doing that. So, and we don't really need to do anything more to kind of build who we are and what we've done and all of that sort of stuff. Whereas Leon is on the opposite end of the spectrum, where it's like, yeah, I need to do as much as possible to get my name out there, and even if I've got it out there already a bit, but you know, like I need to do more and more and more. So he seems like a go-getter, where he seems like he's going somewhere and he's climbing the ladder and whatnot. He's not just, oh, I'm here and I'm putting in the effort in the ring, or I'm putting the effort in as a character or on the mic or trying to do things or whatever. But I'm actually out there. I'm actually, you know, he seems like he's doing a lot of media and interviews and different things and whatnot. So, and he said, I think he said in a recent interview, I don't know who it was with, but he said in a recent interview, you know, he's out there trying to represent his company as best as what he can. And I understand like what he's trying to do, but like what WWE is trying to do is get him to be like, hey, you know, sign with us, you know, when your deal's done. I don't know how long his deal is for and whatnot, but I think somebody said the end of 2026. So, but it's not like seemingly, again, same thing with like Joe Hendry, even though he was like under contract with TNA for a fair amount of like 2025, he was in WWE more than he was in TNA at a certain point, you know. So it was like, you know, you're over there, not over here. You're more of a WWE talent than you are a TNA talent. And not to say that I'm against anyone going to the big leagues, so to speak, or whatever. But it really sucks for TNA. But this is like, I say this to people when they say, "Oh, it's because of the relationship." In some ways, yes, but in some ways, no, because it's like WWE is always going to exist. They're always going to be there, and they're always going to be a bigger promotion than what TNA is. So people have always gone there, and I know I've said before where it's like people don't always go there, but people have always gone there eventually, like in some regards, like, you know um and I think, again, maybe this is the new regime, I don't know, but I can't remember. Like, I think it was back 2014, 2024, that they signed Leon. I think that was when they signed him. I think. Yeah, because it was at the end. Oh, yeah, I think it was the end of 24 because they were doing. Was it Turning Point or Final Resolution in England? Which was like yeah, it was. I think it was Final Resolution that they did over there in England. And they picked Leon up then, and he came and joined in early 2025 and was doing stuff then, and he finally had his moment to win the X Division title and all of that stuff and whatever. So yeah, you had all these things going on. So yeah, like, I don't know. It's a sticky situation, I guess, in some regards. Like, I'm very happy for Joe Hendry to go off to have success in some ways. Same for Jordan, same for Leon if he does decide to go. It's the same thing with anybody. I'm happy for them individually, but I'm just like, for the company that I'm watching and working, so many things for. It's like, yes, we need talent that people want, but we need to retain those talents. Like, and I know Leon's been here for like a couple of years or whatever, but yeah, it's like very much, again, where it's like, it feels like TNA can only get the talent that WWE and AEW don't want or aren't fussed enough about, or whatever, people that, I don't know. Yeah. People that don't want to go to WWE or don't want to go to AEW for reasons or whatever. I think that there are some of those people. I think that there are a lot of those people that are out there that are like, I don't want to work that hard. Like, I don't want to go to WWE. The hours are too much. The dates are too much. The pay might be good or whatever, but and whatever, but at the end of the day, I want to just do what I want to do. I want to be this guy on the indies doing well, just plugging along and enjoying it. And maybe, like, if AEW or TNA or even WWE says, "Hey, we'll bring you in for a spot or something," and whatever, but it's non-committal and whatever else, then sure, maybe I'll do that. But, like, otherwise, I don't really feel like I will bother too much in regards to saying, "Hey, I'll be there and I'll, make the dates and I'll make the towns and I'll make the signings and I'll make the interviews," and because it's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of pressure, especially when you start saying, "Am I on Raw? Am I on SmackDown? Where am I at? Like, where am I being? What am I doing? Am I on this roster or am I on both rosters? Now I've got to make both towns." Like, when you're saying, like, for TNA, same thing. It's like with WWE right now, it's like same thing with that. It's like, I've got to make WWE dates. Like, do I have to make NXT dates? Do I have to make house show dates? Do I have to make pay-per-view dates, like, and then what dates do I have for, not just TNA, but what other promotions I'm in. I don't know what other promotions he's in, but, or whoever, doesn't matter. Same for anybody. You've got to be able to manage your dates. You've got to be able to say, okay, I've got to go to the gym. I've got to eat right. I've got to get some sleep, like, I've got to travel from A to B to C to D to E to F to G to whatever, you know, um, and all this other stuff. There's so many different things that go into wrestling, and then you've got to train in wrestling. Then you've got to practice your match and your promo, and yeah, there's lots that goes into it. So again, it's a hard life, and just balancing things out and saying, hey, this is where I'm at, or this is what I want to do. And obviously, like, WWE, like, again, it's a big, big, big opportunity, but it's a big, big commitment. And Leon's very young, so maybe that's what he wants to do. But and obviously it's up to him to decide, or anyone to decide, what they want to do and where they want to do it and all that sort of stuff. But again, when we're sitting here looking at this through this lens, it's like, well, we needed some of those guys, like, on our roster, to stay on our roster, even if they're just in the same position as what they were in some regards. They're just so useful, to the brand, to the company, and to everything that's going on, that it's like, yeah, we need those guys, because they're like, they've almost become part of the furniture, so to speak, which is like, sometimes that's good, sometimes that's bad, or whatever, because it starts to feel like, oh yeah, you kind of get forgotten about, or you kind of get that sense of, I don't know, um um you know you're just a number. That's what I mean. Like, you're just kind of here. I mean, we've seen that with Jake something. Like, he left recently, and went to AEW. And I, like, somebody said something about, like, let's see where he can go from here. And I said, look, you've pretty much reached what he can do there. No offense to Jake or anything, like I say, it's all offense to AEW. And it's the same for TNA sometimes as well, not giving people opportunities, or not giving people the momentum or the stories or whatever else that it is that makes them actually feel like, oh man, this person's going somewhere or doing something, or we can believe in them, or we can see that they have potential or whatever, and they're going to be here for at least a while, not just a handful of days or whatever else it is or whatnot. That's what it's got to be. You've got to be there for more than a couple of years at least before you move on off. Like, and then ideally it's 4 or 5 years before you move on off. If you haven't done anything in like 3 or 4 years or whatever it is, or 5 years, you're just kind of being a piece in the puzzle. I can get the idea of saying, well, I might try my luck elsewhere, and say, hey, Jake's doing that. Good luck to him, but I feel like he's just going to be another piece in the puzzle for another 5 years or whatever it is, however long he's over there in AEW. Because, like, I think they've got their superstars, and they don't seem to want to build new superstars. Unless you're a superstar coming in the door, they don't really want to build you. And even then, like, they haven't really pulled the trigger on some people that could have been superstars. And I know injuries have slowed some of that down, but, like, there's a lot of guys that they still have on their roster that could be major superstars that aren't injured, and all of this sort of stuff, that are just like, they're there and they exist, and that's about it. Like, like, whereas with TNA, like, yes, the Rascals, they could have been big stars, but, like, and you might say that Jake could have been a big star, but I don't know. it's tough to say until somebody really gets that opportunity for us to see whether they can be a big star. And he never really did that consistently, or they never really did that consistently with him. So we won't know. Maybe if you look at some of his indie work, maybe that's a bit different or whatever. So again, like as I've said many times, I don't think that I will never criticize the company or criticize some of the decisions or criticize some of the stuff that's going on there or what have you, whatever. It's just saying I'm not here to tear them down. I'm here to say, okay, that wasn't great, or this isn't good, or this isn't working, or whatever else. Let's find something that is. Let's change course. And that's why I said, like, when you have something and you go, let's just drop it. No, don't drop it. Don't drop things, you know. And maybe that's what happened with Jake. That he said, hey, at the end of this contract, I'm probably leaving, or whatever. So you can uncouple me from Kaz because like there's going to be no point because I'm going to leave. And that might have been a token gesture or whatever from them being like, hey, we want you to do this or whatever. Or it might have been something that they were like, well, we just want to try this and see where we can go with you and start building you in this position or whatever else it is. And then he might have been like, oh, I don't know, I might be leaving or whatever. And they were probably in negotiations or whatever it was. So they were like, oh, let's take him out of this thing with Kazarian because like we don't know what we're going to do with him or if he's going to stay or whatever. So yeah, I don't know what position you're going to kind of put some people in because like Bear Bronson, he feels like he's just started, and I don't want, like I've said this with a few people, you don't pull these guys in just to be like, oh, okay, now you're just a nobody that's on the roster that, has to job to everybody else pretty much. That person has to be important, but not everyone can be important. But, like, same with Mace Warner. He's been there for a while now, and it's like suddenly it doesn't seem like they know what they're doing with him or whatever. I think Sammy might have been really pulling for him and really pulling for him and that to have a match and have a feud and have something going on. So and maybe they were more hot on him coming in than what he is now. I don't know. But again, that's the same thing. Like I say, I'm not above criticizing them. I'm just above saying, it's all bad or it's all doom and gloom or whatever else. I'm just saying, hey, we need to pick it up. We can't just have these guys exist on our roster because otherwise we might as well not even have them. There are guys that should just be, they exist on the roster. They're here to help put other people over. The hometown man or Cody Dino, whatever you want to call him. He's just another guy that's on the roster that's there to get beaten. Brian Myers is another guy that's just there to get beaten. JDC, same thing, just there to get beaten, in my opinion. And Tasha hasn't wrestled in forever, so I don't really know, besides her being a mouthpiece, what she's doing. And that's fine, again, but, like, again, it feels like, oh, well, where's this going? What are you doing with her or whatever? You're not really going anywhere directionally with her. Same with the good hands or great hands or whatever. It feels like, again, you piqued your interest there for a minute and then you were like, nah, we're just going to put you back in that faction and you're just going to be hands for Mustafa Ali. And I think Mustafa Ali can get by without them. But then again, like, it's the only way they get TV time now. So it's like, well, and that's what I mean. It's like I said before, perhaps it's an issue of just not having enough time or whatever. But again, you've got to make time. You know what I mean? Like, and this is what I mean by planning things out, saying this is where we're going and that's how we're getting there, or this is how we're getting there. These are the events we've got throughout the year. It doesn't matter, well, it does matter sometimes where the events are held, but like 9 times out of 10, it doesn't matter where the events are held. So, that's what we've got to do. We've got to work with saying we've got Rebellion coming up, we've got, Slammiversary coming up after that, and then we've got Bound for Glory. And this year, like we said, it's got to be the biggest year. This has got to be the biggest show, again. Without having Leon on there, it takes away something from the show. Even if people, like I said, it's probably predictable Leon's probably winning, or whatever. And again, we've seen this match already, so it's like there were no extra stakes or whatever else, or extra stipulations to add extra stakes or whatever else it was, and that sort of thing. So it's like, oh, okay, well, never mind, no one cares, whatever, And again, we can't, like I said, there's so many times, we can't just be beholden to having, like, the scraps or whatever WWE doesn't want, Like, that's why you've got to have your guys, and especially your younger guys like Leon, on your show. It's like, this is what you can expect to see, not just, oh, well, maybe we'll get to see him, maybe, if WWE lets us, type thing, or whatever. And I get saying, hey, he's going to do these dates or whatever. Okay, cool. Great. But if that interferes with the dates that you've got him signed for, then it's like, this is a problem, Or it's something that you should say, okay, he is going on this European tour, he is doing this with WWE, or he is doing that with this person or that person or whatever it is, or this promotion or whatever. So we have to announce, hey, he's not going to be here, or he's going to be there, or whatever, So there's no confusion. So there's no, like, well, not no expectations, but there's no, like, in-ring expectations. And I think if you're not going to have Leon on this show, you need to have some other X Division style match on this show. Maybe that'll make more room for some of the other stuff that's on the show, but I don't know. I don't know whether I'm just going to say this in this video. I don't really care to say it in another video because this is, I guess it's pretty minor. They did announce recently that Bully Ray was going to be on commentary for the main event between Santana and Kazarian. I honestly, in some ways, don't think much of that to some degree because, like, I feel like Bully is pretty much retired at this point. So it's just like another person to kind of, advertise to the show or whatever. Is he signed with WWE at all, like a Legends deal or anything like that at all? I don't really know. So, yeah, I'm not really part and parcel to any of that shenanigans or whatever. So I don't really know what his deal with WWE, if there is a deal or whatever. I don't know, and I don't really care, honestly. So again, yeah, I'm not really coming to the forefront of saying, hey, and like, again, even if he is going to do something, it's like with this match or whatever, which I don't think he will. Maybe he will, but like, so what? The guy's basically retired anyways, and like I said this before, the guy can't really go like anymore. Same with the Hardys, can't really go anymore. So it's like, well, if you're gonna do something with him in an in-ring capacity, don't build to it on pay-per-view or whatever, or like, you've got to have a lot of smoke and mirrors then, I guess, if you're gonna have it on pay-per-view. That's what the last time match he had really on pay-per-view was. It was like smoke and mirrors, mostly. So it was like, okay, all right, this is what people wanted. And I think, again, he should be retired because, like, besides like his team with Diavon, the only real thing he was ever known for was the Aces and Eights. So again, like, and at this point, it's like, maybe you could get, I don't think you could get anything out of him as far as an in-ring. Maybe as a manager, like Harley Race or something like that, or perhaps something else. I don't really know. But like, as far as like, yeah, as far as being on the mic or something, or being on commentary, maybe, sure, absolutely. I don't know about anything else. That's where I see him at the moment. But yeah, guys, anyway, for now, I think that's it for this one. So it's a bit of like news, I guess. But either way, I do hope you guys have enjoyed it, and I hope you guys will join me again in another one.